Hi everybody, welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen and today we are going to cover interview prep if you've been lucky enough to receive an invite to interview. So I know a lot of you are worried about COVID and everything, but we've been through recessions in Ireland before and indeed globally, and yeah, it does affect the amount of positions that are available, but ultimately that's outside of your control. All you can focus on is your preparation. So that's what we're going to discuss today. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and like this video if you want more like this. I tend to do a lot of training application interviews and things like that, content this time of year in autumn. So yeah, buckle up and get ready to take some notes. So my first large piece of advice is to know your CV. Of course you know who you are, but be able to explain the gaps when it comes to timing. Like for example, if there's a year out, be able to say, yeah, I went traveling. There is nothing wrong with saying you went traveling. Young people, and indeed all people, tend to travel. Travel is a way to broaden your horizons. It makes you more empathetic. It makes you appreciate other cultures, and it does broaden your horizon. So don't be afraid to say you traveled. Don't be afraid to say you volunteered. If everybody withheld this information, it would be a very distorted view on how people actually spend their lives. So make sure you're honest about it. If you've done a J1 and you were painting lines on the road or you were cleaning out gutters, tell them, because that all shapes your character. It's who you are. Don't be afraid of who you are. They will accept or reject you based on who you are. And you really need to get used to that. I have another video on confidence and rejection. Please go and watch that. You will be rejected in life. It is an absolute certainty. And you need to get used to it. So just be very clear on who you are. And be honest. Don't get caught out, okay? Don't lie. Please never lie in a CV. Just don't even do it, because in the off chance they say, can we see a copy of your results, or can we have an employer reference, then you're in big trouble. Okay, the second big part of interview preparation, after you've done your own preparation about you and your CV and your cover letter, is knowing the company, because that's the interview will go. So why do you want to work here will be the question. And you are absolutely, there's no way you're getting the job if you haven't done some bit of research. But not only that you've gone a little bit further. So you've gone on the LinkedIn page, you've looked at the recent news, you know what kind of clients that law firm has, you know what their profile is, you know their place within the legal marketplace. And if you have bought my book, How to Get a Training Contract, you'll understand how the legal marketplace or the legal environment operates, and you'll understand that firm's place in it, and therefore you'll understand better what your role will be in the firm. And if you're given the information of the people who are going to be interviewing you, do a Google search on them as well, because there might be something in their bio, or you might have something in common, like you might be from the same place, you might know some of the same people. There's nothing wrong with bringing that up. That shows you've done your homework, and it's realistic as well, because if you were meeting someone in real life, you'd be like, oh, who's this? You want to know who they are. You don't just meet people randomly for the sake of it. Okay, the third thing, and I'm gonna do a whole separate video on this, it's just taking me a little bit of time to kind of organize it and how to approach it, but it's for both men and women, how you present yourself. And I think I've spoken about this many times, and what I mean by this is outward appearance. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but you are being judged on your appearance. This comes to your hair, makeup, what jewelry you're wearing, what clothes you're wearing. That all screams your personality and who you are. The next thing then is, I think I've said this as well, your body language and how you communicate with your body. So, they'll be able to see if you're tense, if you're nervous, if you're sweating, all of this will unfortunately color their decision, because this is how you react under pressure, your tone of voice, your breathing. Like, human beings are made up of energy. So we either give out positive or negative energy. You can sense a vibe off somebody if they're a chilled out person, if they're a worked up person, if they're nervous, if they're anxious. You can feel that with other people. It's the exact same in an interview. So just try and be as chilled as possible, but kind of professional and assertive, and basically have your own back. And if you need a question to be repeated, don't go what, or could you say that again? Go, excuse me, would you mind repeating the question? Be very mannerly. If somebody opens a door for you, say thank you, say please, say I'd love that, and make sure your manners, like manners are such an easy win, and but they do need to be practiced. It's hard to turn manners on and off. You either have them or you don't. So the best thing to do is practice it every day. Like if you're in Tesco, let somebody go ahead of you, say thank you, look people in the eye, get used to being around people, heighten your sociability, and this will help you in interview as well. Smile, but don't smile too much, because you don't want to be like taken as a joke. Smile an appropriate amount, like kind of like, I would really love the opportunity to work here. I would really love the opportunity to work here. Like, there's a big difference. So kind of watch that. Now, as I was kind of saying about the vibe, like, you don't want to come off as arrogant either. So you obviously will be discussing yourself, but you don't want to say like, I was by far the best person on that team, and that's why I think I should be employed here. Like, there's a bit of an attitude there. That's fine if you're like with your friends, but it's not okay if you're an employer. A better way to go about that was, I have to say, I really enjoyed working on a team. I learned a lot from my teammates. I learned how we may have different perspectives, but ultimately we all want the same thing. See how my tone of voice is different there? I'm not like, well, I was the best on that team, so like people had to listen to me, It's just so abrasive, and nobody wants to be with somebody like that. And I put up my hands, like, I can be quite spicy a person. Like, I can get a bit attitude, because I don't know, I kind of like sometimes to be like that, but it's not appropriate in an interview, because you don't know that person well enough yet to be that have that kind of attitude. So yeah, cut the attitude. Make sure you're not late, and make sure your phone's not on. That would just be really bad if your phone rang during the interview. Say their names back to them. Be like, yes, Brian, that is a really good question, because that'll give you some time to figure out your answer. People love the sound of their own name. Believe me. Don't be like this. Like, don't be like fidgeting and be like, yeah, well, like, I think that mumbling and like looking at your fingers. Look them in the eye and just say it straight. Keep your words simple. Don't ramble. Just keep it short and concise. Nobody likes a rambler. I know I ramble a lot, but it's YouTube, so I can do what I want. I'm not being interviewed here. I'm just giving you advice. So I am tending to ramble because I'm speaking off the cuff, but in an interview, you keep it short and concise. As I said, attitude, and just being kind of like lackadaisical about the whole thing. Being like, yeah, like, I kind of just want to get the job because I kind of need to pay my bills, and stop my mother getting on to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing. That's going to get you nowhere. Oh yeah, when they say, so, do you have any questions for us? And you're like, no, none. I kind of just want to go shopping. I used to do that when I was younger. Be sure to ask questions. There is millions of things you could ask. I just want to ask, like, where do you see the firm going in the future? It's hard to tell with the current, economic status. Like, well, don't say like. I know I say like a lot, but don't say it in an interview. Do you think that there is a place for this law firm in these areas? Do you think you're going to expand? What is the open door policy like in your firm? All of that kind of stuff, you can definitely find some way to ask questions. Address this point as well. So competency-based interviews are becoming more popular. So I'm not competent in saying the word competent. Competency-based interviews come largely from the public sector, where you're scored, like we'll say 1 to 10, and then you get a percentage and then you get the job. It's like very objective criteria. And this is starting actually to seep into law. I'm seeing it more and more, especially with in-house roles. So questions would be like, and you may have had some of these before. It's kind of like competency based styled questions. Can you give me an example of a time where you had to work on a team? That shows your skill or ability or competency to work on a team. And you may not have realized it at the time, but they're looking to see your team team player skills. Can you give me an example of a time where you needed to demonstrate attention to detail? And you may not have these prepared, but if you're genuine, you'll have one ready at the top of your list. They've stopped kind of asking, can you tell me what your greatest strengths are, your greatest weaknesses are? It's kind of gone away from that subjective kind of non-performance based questions, because the economy is being driven more now by performance and skill, and that is really what it comes down to. Are you competent for the role? And that's becoming more and more prevalent as time goes on. So I think a lot of you know this already, but how you answer the broad scheme of things, and this is all in my book, is STAR. So you describe the situation. I was fulfilling a project. You describe the task. My task was to manage the closing of the project. You describe the actions you took to carry out the task. I coordinated with all my team members. I sent an email reminding them of the deadline, and the result, I met my deadline on time. The team rejoiced, and we had a bottle of champagne, and everybody was happy, and I am the best person for the job. You know what I mean. So yeah, and also I have seen some psychometric testing. There is psychometric testing in a lot of trainee applications. You can practice these, of course, but at the end of the day, it comes down to your situational judgment, and that is something that you've learned since you were a wee child. And it's I think it is a good way of seeing if people are suited for a career in law, because a lot of people don't have a tendency towards justice, and that makes them really underqualified morally, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm all for psychometric testing. And yeah, I think law is a largely personality based profession. A lot of it is judgment based, like subjective judgment. It's all about rational thinking. So I really do think psychometric testing is a great way to figure out people's strengths and weaknesses. But anyway, I've rambled enough. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it does help you to prepare for interview. Best of luck in your interview if you're having one, and don't forget to contact me at info@lawhero.eu if you need help through my Milk Round Mastery product.